coded one. All right. Okay. So here's what we have. If you're calculating GDP, let me just make emphasis for this, then you guys can calculate this along. So GDP, okay, can you please just unmute your mic? I don't know whose mic, Chivunde, can you just unmute your mic? Mute your mic, sorry. You can get feedback here. All right. So GDP, which is gross domestic product, can be calculated in different ways. And one of the ways that you can calculate GDP is using the expenditure approach. And when you're given something like this, and they ask you to calculate GDP or GNP, you need to use the expenditure approach. And the expenditure approach formula, GDP, using the expenditure approach, you just get all the expenses that were done in an economy. And you say GDP is equal to the C, which is consumption, plus I, which is investment, plus the G, which is government expenditure, plus the NX, which stands for net exports. So consumption, investment, government expenditure, and net exports. So these are the only components that you need. So you need to know that when they give you a table like this, it's not everything that you need to calculate GDP. You need to know that this in consumption, sometimes it's called private consumption or personal consumption. It is the same thing. And this investment, all right, is what we have here. Investment is also called capital formation. So you might be given in your test, they might write capital formation. It is the same word as investment. Okay. So this can be called even gross investment, but whenever you just see the word investment, gross private investment or capital formation, it is the same thing as what? Investment. Then this government expenditure, usually there's no other name or stuff. Usually they'll just put government expenditure or government purchases like this that we have here, government purchases, just the same as government expenditure is this. Okay, but where you would have some troubles is knowing when they put capital formation, it's just the same as investment. Okay, then the other thing that I want to emphasize on is on depreciation. Depreciation is sometimes they will put it as capital consumption. Okay, this is the other name. So these are the names that you can find in your test, then you will think is they're different. So capital formation is just the other name of depreciation. Okay, so these are the two things that I would love to emphasize before we get to start, but you don't, depreciation is already included in when you're calculating GDP at market price. So it now brings me to just as showing you what GDP at market price is. So GDP at market price is just GDP that is calculated at the prevailing market price. Okay, we were doing this yesterday in our class, prevailing market price, meaning you just get the prices as they are in the market. So if, for example, sugar is 5 kwacha, you get sugar as 5 kwacha. Just get it as it is. All right. But you know that at every market price, at market prices, the government, we have these indirect taxes. And I believe if you have bought things from Pick and Pay or ShopRite, they'll give you that receipt. And under that receipt, they'll show you something called VAT, V-A-T. The VAT just stands for the value-added tax. It is the indirect tax that is charged on goods and services. So when you're calculating at market price, meaning, for example, Pick and Pay can be selling water at 4 kwacha, but you have the VAT, which is 1 kwacha, meaning you add the 1 kwacha, you now get the market price value of VATRA to be what? To be 5 kwacha. So when you're calculating GDP at market price, you're going to use this 5 kwacha here. All right. So GDP at market price is just the normal one, which you're now just going to calculate when you're calculating all these, you're adding them together. Okay. So now I must emphasize this also called GDP at basic price. Now GDP, okay, at basic price. So GDP at basic price is just equal to GDP, okay, is equal to GDP at market price. So it's GDP at market price minus, now you remove the taxes. So minus the indirect taxes. So by doing this, the value that you're going to get, you get GDP at what? At at basic price. Okay, so this is GDP at basic price, because basic price just means it's the price without the tax. So GDP at basic price is just equal to this. Then now we have GDP, the other one which is not here, but you might find it in your test, is called the GDP at factor cost. So now the GDP at factor cost, okay, this is just, you get the GDP at market price. So you get GDP at market price, okay? The same way that we did for GDP at basic price. Then here you say minus the indirect taxes, okay? Then you say plus subsidies. But here we have nothing to do with this in your tutorial sheet, but it's just for your knowledge that you get to know what this is, because they might bring at factor cost in your in the test. All right, so these are the three basic ways to calculate GDP. You can calculate it at market price, which means it's inclusive of taxes. At basic price, you remove the taxes, but at factor cost, now you remove the taxes, but you add subsidies. That's how you get to calculate this. All right. Then now, knowing this, it will be very easy for us now to just do the calculations. So I don't want to do this for you. I want you to calculate it. All of us are going to calculate it just now. So that in case you find it in the test, it will be very easy for you. All right. So let me just erase this. And then, okay. Now you should know that there's a relationship between GNP and GDP, which you should have answered on question 1. Okay. So GDP, okay. Okay, let me just completely remove this. Okay. Okay, so please, if you have a question, you can just unmute your mic, then you'll get to ask me. Okay. All right. Okay, so when we have, okay, please unmute your mic, Ben. Okay, let me just mute you. All right. So GDP and GNP have a relationship, okay? So GNP, okay, is equal to GDP plus what is known as net factor income from abroad, which is just the difference between these two. You've seen these two here? So this factor income from abroad minus this one here, the factor income to abroad, make up this component called the net factor income from abroad. And this is what gives us what? To have our GNP. So to calculate this GNP, which we have here, you can see this is GNP at market price. It's equal to 1,200. So they had to get the GDP at market price as well. And then they added the net factor income from abroad like this. Okay, hope that is fine. So I want us to get the net factor income from abroad, which you do the net factor income, you do the factor income from abroad minus the factor income to abroad. So get this difference. What is the answer here? So get the two difference here so that we can put the value here. So we're going to say GNP is equal to our GDP plus, what is this? You do the from minus the to abroad. So what's the answer here? Please try to calculate it. What's the answer? Yes, we're just doing minus here. Anybody? 1,200 minus 1,950. Yes, Mwale, what's the answer?
50.
50, right? So it means this part here. Okay, so the net factor income from abroad here is equal to 50, isn't it? Now, what we want to calculate is to find GDP. That's what is gross national product at basic price. Now, okay, first let me just answer the B here. You've seen this B here? I'll start answering this B because I thought that was the question 1. Okay, you guys. All right. So we're calculating this question B here, which says I calculate GDP at market price. So you get the GNP at market price. Okay, so we're doing question B, this question B here. So to calculate GDP at market price, you need the GNP at market price, okay? And for you to get the GDP. So this GDP here, you can make GDP the subject of the formula, isn't it? It will be GDP is equal to what? So you just get this one to the other side. It will be GNP, right? GNP minus the 50, isn't it? So we'll get the GDP is equal to what? What's our GNP here? You're making GDP the subject of the formula.
12,000.
We are calculating together here. Where are you getting those answers? So, so we're going to get our GNP here is 1,200, isn't it? 12,000. So you get your 12,000, yes, minus the 50, isn't it? So our GDP will be equal to what?
But that question.
Yes.
I don't know how you have found this 50.
Okay, you
Because when you subtract 1,000.
Yes, 1,000.
It's given 350.
This is 350 here.
Yes.
750.
Okay.
No, 1,200 minus 1,950, 350.
It's negative 750.
Negative 750, not 350.
Okay, so you're doing 1,200 minus 1,950, which should be negative.
Yeah.
Negative
750,
right? Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you for that correction. I don't know who gave me the wrong answer. It should have been you. Yes, the one looking at me. All right. So here we need to, this is negative 750, isn't it? All right. So we just make this correction here. This is negative, okay, negative 750 like this, right? Okay. So this means when you take this will be minus, isn't it? So taking it this other side will entail that we're going to have a positive answer, isn't it? So it means this will become a plus 750, right? Okay. So plus 750. So GDP here is equal to what? What is the addition of this? So hope everybody's okay. So we have this here expression, right? So this one, we're going to make GDP the subject of the formula because we want to find GDP. So take the negative 750 to the other side. So it will be GNP plus 750 for us to get the GDP. So this is now what we're having. Our GNP is 12,000, which is this 12,000 here, plus the 750, which will give us what? Yes, I want you to be calculating there instead of watching, isn't it? What is the answer? This is the answer, isn't it? So you can see here, we don't have any units, so it's measured in dollars. Okay, so what you need to do, if it's measured in dollars, you give your answer like this, it will be wrong. You say the GDP is equal to, you put the dollars here, then you put the 12,750, and this will be your GDP.
So, question, sir. This 750 is a negative. So I think we have to subtract. So yeah, we have to subtract from 12,000.
Yes, look at this. This is the way we're coming from, isn't it? We're saying GDP. Yes. Okay, I think we had it mixed up here. So we're saying GDP here. Okay, you've seen this? GNP is equal to GDP plus net factor income from abroad. So what we're having is GNP is equal to GDP. This is a negative. Okay, this is negative 50
yes.
here. So now we're making this GDP the subject of the formula. So we're making GDP the subject of the formula. So we're taking this to the other side. So that's why now we're having.
Oh, okay.
This now is the
subject. Okay.
So getting GDP now will be equal to this. And this is now what we're having. So this is the final answer there. All right.
Okay.
I hope everyone's okay with this. Huh? So that's how you calculate. So please, I'll record this class. You can just repeat when putting down your answers. You write them in this format. Okay, I'll post this video again so that you can now write your answers. I just want to help you to understand with this. All right, so that's how you calculate these things. So let's go to the next one. So I'll erase this, then in your own time, you can watch the video again, and then write now the answers in a proper form. Okay. All right, now let's just do the GDP, the GNP at basic price. Now remember, I just said basic price just means, what did I say about basic price? It's just, what does that imply? Yes, somebody, yes, Natasha. At basic price, we say you just get the same thing that they're telling you, then you just subtract the indirect taxes, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so here, let us put this one down. Okay, let me just change my pen, maybe a blue one. All right. Okay, so now for this one, we are going to say, we're now calculating A, right? So GNP at basic price, okay? So GNP at basic price, okay? At the basic price will just be equal to what? The GNP at market price, okay? Minus the indirect taxes, okay? So this is the formula here. So what we're going to have here, this will just be equal to, what's the GNP at market price? It's already calculated, it's right here, isn't it? It's the GNP at market price. So it's 12,000. So you get these 12,000, all right? Then minus, what are the indirect taxes? Indirect taxes are equal to 220, isn't it? 220. So this will be equal to what? What's the answer here? So it will be equal to what? 11,000, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So meaning our answer here would therefore be equal to $11,000, 780. This is your GNP at basic price. Okay, so just know that at basic price, you get the market price minus the indirect taxes. But if it was factor cost, we would have added the subsidies. All right, but they have not asked us for that here. All right, hope that is okay for everyone. Now let us go to look at the last one. No, the net exports now, right? So now I said net exports is just equal to what? Okay, so net export.
Imports minus
So net exports is just equal to, you get your exports minus your what? Your imports, isn't it? Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so to get your net exports here, the only thing that you need is, what are your exports? Our exports will be equal to, what we have them here, these are imports here, you can see my imports. Do we have our exports? We don't have any exports.
No, we don't have it. Yeah.
All right, so our net exports, I don't know, probably they should have left it out or something. So the only component that we have here is our imports, right? Meaning our exports should be 0 because they're not indicated here. All right, but you know here that it's exports minus your imports. All right, so what you do is, since they're not given, meaning it implies that they're equal to 0. So we're going to have the 0 minus our imports are what? 1200, isn't it? So this we're going to have, it's negative 12. So this implies that our imports are greater than our exports. All right. Hope everybody's okay with that. Okay. Then for this, yes.
Can't we use like GDP to calculate net exports?
Oh yeah, we can actually use that. So what we have here, I want us to get back here. So since we have our GDP, right? So you know that how to calculate your GDP. Let me just put this here. So this is going to draw us from here. We have our GDP. You know that GDP is equal to what? C plus I
Consumption
plus G plus the NX, which is exports minus minus our imports, which is very good. So we have our GDP, which we have calculated. What's the answer we found?
12,750.
12,750, right? Then we're going to say
Yes.
is equal to, what's our consumption? We have 7,000, right?
Yes.
Then our investment, we have what? 550. Then plus our G is equal to what? Our government expenditure here is equal to 2,800, right?
800, yes.
Yes. Then we're going to say plus our exports, which we don't know, minus what our imports. Our imports are 1,200. All right. So now we can just do, we can have 12,700. This is now grade 7, right? And then we can get all these values. You can just add up all these. What is this? 7,000 plus this minus this. Okay, so just punch on your calculator these figures here. What are we having? So do 7,000. So just get all these values and add them up. So 7,000 plus. So let me just try to calculate as well here. Okay, what answer we found?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're remaining in 10 minutes.
I found
You found what?
10,050.
the
10,000.
consumption.
Okay, when you
The
added
government export.
and you subtracted this 12 with the 1,200?
Not really. Just
No, I have
adding the
10,000.
Okay, so let's pretend you ended from here. We're saying, you say 10,000 for this?
10,350.
So 10,350. So say plus the X. Okay, let me just
Minus.
let me just calculate as well.
Right.
10,350 is okay. Then plus
Yeah.
X. Okay, so minus this 1,200. So now do this calculate 10,350 minus 1,200. You're going to remain with 9,150. 9,150. Okay. So
Yes.
so now what I'm going to do is, for the rest, I might not be able to make up a video. I'll just get to calculate everything together and then I can send them to you guys. So maybe for this, I think this is okay. Then I'll calculate everything for you. Then I can write it down. So it means our exports here are going to be, this is the 12,000 here. Okay. So of the 12,000, okay, what's happening to my pen here? Okay, 12,750, then will be equal to, this is 9,150 plus the X, right? So to find X, this one comes to the other side. So it will just be 12,750 minus 9,150. 12,750, this will be 3,000. So our exports are equal to what? 3,600. Okay, these are the dollars. So now to find our net exports, we know that it's exports minus what? Imports, isn't it? So our exports are 3,600 minus what our imports? Our imports are 1,000. Yes, so now you can find this answer. What's the answer?
2,400.
Yeah, $2,400. So $2,400, that's our $2,400. That's our what? That's our net exports. All right. And now, when it comes to the aspect of this last one here, the net, okay, for the national income, I'll send it to you separately, okay? Because we'll need to remove something and something, okay? But I didn't teach this in our class, but we'll get to do this, everything, and question 2 as well, just to avoid the aspect of time. I know that you won't understand this until we have the class on Monday, okay? So on Monday, we'll be doing these things in details so that you can answer any questions that will come regardless of how they manipulate them. So now when it comes to net national product, okay, the net national product, which is so for this, because I taught it in class as well, I'll just speak about it, okay? So net, when you see the word net here, meaning they have removed depreciation. So meaning wherever there's net here, put the gross, okay? It was gross national product, but now it has become net. So when it is net, it means they've just removed depreciation. So to get the NNP, the net national product, you need to first get the gross, which is the GNP, okay? Then you're going to subtract. If they've not mentioned anything about basic price or market, then it means if it's just like this, net national product, it means it's at market price. So you get your GNP at the market price, then you're going to subtract what? The depreciation.
Depreciation.
Okay. So our GNP at market price is equal to what? We already found it. It's already there. It's the 12,000. Then you remove the depreciation. Depreciation there is equal to what? 85. So when you do this subtraction here, you'll find that this should be equal to what dollars? So minus 85, that's just equal to 11,000, 11,009. So we have 11.
25.
Yeah. So this is going to be what? This.
1,009.
Yeah, so because I've run out of time, Zoom only allows 40 minutes. All right. So for this, the last one, the national income and the first question, I'll send them just immediately after this class, okay? But for these other questions, okay, we have these questions here. I'll just get to calculate them on my own, but on Monday, we'll be having class with those that attend tuitions with me, and I'll show you how to calculate all these. All right, when you're given this, how to calculate equilibrium income, this is another format which they'll ask you to calculate national income. All right, then on Wednesday, we should be able to also look at the aspect of the multiplier. But on Monday, I'll just show you all these calculations and how you do with them. Okay. So I think for this one, I'll just end here because my time is up. But I've recorded. I'll resend it. I'll send you the link. You can watch it. You can watch this class on YouTube. Okay, I'll just click. I'll send the link to you guys, and then you can watch. Then I'll forward the answers as well for everything else. So, but for now, I'll just send question 1 and question 2 immediately after this class. And then you can get to see them. Then question 3 and 4, I'll just do them on my own and I'll send you the solutions, okay? All right. Any question before the class cuts in a minute?
Zoom. Wait. When the first time I was using some.
All right. Okay, I believe there's no question, right? Then we'll see you guys, and I'd urge all of us to not miss the class on Monday so that we do these other calculations, and I guess we'll be okay for the test. Okay, we'll get to meet then. Let me just pray, then we get to close the class.
The test.
All right, Father, we thank you for today's class. We thank you, Lord, for your understanding. And I pray, Lord, for every one of these, that, Lord, you help them to understand these concepts. I commit them to you and I pray that you bless them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, I'll send the link just now for the class, for this same class, okay? All right.